Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Python for Beginners. In today's tutorial, we are going to look at the data type string. That is what we have here. So if you're a beginner in Python and you are learning data types, then one of the things that you will come across is what? Strings. So today, I'm going to take you through this tutorial so that by the end of this tutorial, you will know how to create strings, you know how to manipulate strings, you know how to use strings in your Python programming activities. And so without further ado, let's get started. And by the way, the notebook for this tutorial is available on my Patreon channel. So the link to that channel is in the description. So you can use that to download the notebook here, which has all the codes that we are going to use. So let's get started. So if you don't have Python 2, then you can use Google Colab. You can visit Google Colab using your browser like this one, for example. And when you are here, you can just click outside. You can come to File, New Notebook. And then when you click it, you'll be given a Python environment that you can work on. So this is the Python environment. So when you are here, you can just type your Python codes. Let's say 1 plus 1 or 1 plus 2. Okay, we are dealing with strings. So I'll just do this hello world. And then I can execute it. So if you don't have Python on your system, then don't worry, you can always use this approach where you use your browser, visit Google Colab, and then you can run Python. So the link to Google Colab is also in the description box. So just use that and then you get access to a Python environment free of charge. Okay, now let's get back to our main work. So we are here. So let's get started. So we are going to perform these activities. I've already given them here. These are the titles for the activity we are going to perform. So it's kind of an exercise that you can also do without any instructions. So let's get started. So a string is a sequence of characters, and it's often enclosed in single or double quotes like the one I have given here. So whenever you have a Python code and then you have those characters in quotes, then it's a string. It's likely a string, a data type string, like what I did here. This one here is a string because it's in double quotes. So we can use single quotes or we can also use double quotes like the one I have here. So here we have 2 single quotes, here we have 2 double quotes. So we will look at all of them here. So let's get started. So let's look at how we can create a string. That's the first thing we are going to do. So I'll put that here. Let me scroll down here. So to create a string, you put it in double quotes. So I can just say Python. And then I can execute it. So this will give me this particular text here, which is Python, and it's a string. Okay, so let's look at another one. We can also do this. Even though I typed everything here in double quotes, I can also use single quotes. So I can also say Python. So this time I will use single quotes. That will also work. What we did here also just create the strings. We can assign the operation to a variable. So let's do this. Let's say my string, and this time I'll say equals to, okay, let me just use this one. Let me say greeting equals, and I can say hello world. So this is a string, but because I assign it to a variable, if I want to print it, I need to call this variable. So I can say print greeting, and this will give me hello world. So this is a string. So that's how we do it. So creating string is straightforward. So just practice, look at what I've done here, follow it exactly, and then you'll be fine. So this is how we create strings. Let's type another one. Let's just say name. Let's say my name. I'll say data science coach. So I can print it. I can say print my name. And then I'll have data science coach. So try with your name. Here, when you get here, instead of data science, try and then use your name here and then see what comes up. And you will love the output. So let's get going. Okay, so this is how we create strings. Now let's move on to the next step or the next activity. So in the next activity, we are going to look at how to convert strings to lower or uppercase. We have our strings here, but sometimes we would like to convert or change the cases. Let's say the string will be in lowercase, you would like to change to uppercase. Sometimes in uppercase, you want to change to lowercase. You can do that here. So that's what we are going to do. Let's look at the situations. There are 3 situations here, 3 scenarios. Let me put it that way. So let's look at the first one. Let's say convert string to lower case. Let's look at that. So let's say convert a string to lowercase. So let's do this. So let's say we have this. Let's try with this data science. Okay, I need to put it in quotes. So I'll just say, let me just say topic. I'll say data science like this. You can try with any text, it's fine. Topic. So if I want to change this to lowercase, then it will have to be string.lower. So in this case, this is my variable. So I can say topic.lower. And that will give me data science. So here, everything will be converted to lowercase. Uppercase will be converted to lowercase. Lowercase is, they're already in lowercase, so we just leave it. That's what will be done. So everything will be converted to lowercase. That is what we have done here. Let's try out another one. Let's say language, or let's say programming language. Any of them is fine. Yeah, let's just say language. That's fine. Because let's say Python. So if I want to change everything to lowercase, I can say language.lower. So that will give me everything in lowercase. So this is how we convert a string to lowercase. Now let's look at uppercase. So we do this. Let's come here. So convert a string to uppercase. So uppercase means that everything will be converted to uppercase. Let's try. So this time, let's try something else. Let's say, yeah. Okay, we are still in programming, so I'll just use the same Python. So I'll say language equals Python. So to change everything to uppercase, then it becomes language.upper. So this will give me the output. So it's a copy is returned to me, and that copy is converted to uppercase. This is how we do it. Let's try another thing. Let's say topic. Or let's say data science again. And then we can say topic.upper. And that will give me data science. So this is how we convert or change the case of a string. This is how we convert a string to uppercase. Now let's look at the third situation where you want to capitalize. Let's say you have a name. Names, you begin the first letter is a capital or it's uppercase. So so in that situation, there's another function or method that can help us to do that. So let's just do this. Let's do this. A name. So here the capitalize means that the first letter we want to capitalize. That's what this simply means. Okay, now let's do this. So let's try. So let's say you have first name equals, let's say Mike. Okay, I'll just do this. I'll make it lowercase. There's a name. So if I want to capitalize it, okay, if I want to capitalize it, I want to make this letter capital, then it has to be first name dot capitalize like this. Then I bring my brackets or parentheses. So I'll run this command, and then you will see that the first letter has been capitalized. So this is how we do it. So there's a third situation where we change just the first letter to a capital or to uppercase. So that's how we do it. So you can try with your name. Let's try another one. Let's say name equals Obina. This is a Ghanaian name. So I can say name dot capitalize. Let me correct it here. Capitalize. And then that'll give me the name. So this give me the name. So that's how we convert strings to lower or uppercase. So that's it. Now let's move on to the next one. It's getting interesting. So I hope you still stay tuned and then learn more. Okay. Now let's look at this other one here. Find the length of strings. So here, the length I'm referring to is the number of characters that make up a string. That's what I'm referring to here. Okay, so let's take a look at this situation. Let's say greeting. I'm using greeting again. Hello world. Now, if I want to get the length of this string, or I want to get the number of characters that make up this string, then I have to use the len function. So I can say len greeting, and this will give me 11. Now, as a beginner, someone who is new into programming, then you may wonder why it's 11. Of course, when you count the letters here, we have hello, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have world, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That gives us 10. But why do we have 11? We have 11 because there's a space here, and the spaces are also considered characters. They are also characters in Python. Okay, so because they are characters, they will be added, they will be counted, and that is why we have 11. So if the spaces were 2, we will get 12. Now let's try another thing here. Let's say we have, let's say channel equals data science coach. So here we have 2 spaces and we have our letters here. So this is 4, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5, 7, 12 plus this give us 16. And then we have this and this. So let's just run it. So we have 18. 18 because in addition to these alphabets, we also have spaces here. So that's what we have here. Now, there is something else you also need to know. When creating strings, let me just go back here. Strings is not all about alphabets. Let me just say that here. Strings is not all about alphabets. You should take note of that. So for strings, you can also add numbers. Now, let's try this. Let's say code name equals, I can say, let's say alpha 1. So alpha 1, there's a number here, but because this number is what in double quotes or in quotes, this is also a string. Okay, if I also say that, let's say number equals, let's say this 2. Let me use this one too. This is also a string because it's in quotes, whether single or double quote. Because it's in quotes, it's also a string. So take note of that. So 2 like this, let me just come here. 2 like this is different from this 2. They are 2 different things. They are 2 different information. Okay, so this is a string. This is an integer. We will look at integers in another tutorial, but take note that this is a string because it's in quotes. Everything that is in quotes, whether single or double, is a string. That's what you should know. So take note of that. So this is also a string. Of course, you can do this type number, and that will give you str. That's a string. So just take note of that. Okay, now let's move on to the next step or the next activity. Okay, we are back here. So this is what we did. Let's continue. Okay. So let's look at another thing here. So here we have check for the presence or absence of characters or substrings. We can also do that in Python. So let's look at it. So that means that if we have our string, we can check if a character is present in it, or we have some substrings also present in them. So let's try this. Let's say statements equals I love programming. Let's put it this way. So here, if I want to check if there is this character R in it, I can do that here. So to do that, I have to say R in statement. And that is what's true because there is R here. Okay. Let's see, I want to check if there's love in it. So love in statements. And that will also give me true because there's love here. Now let's look at something else. If I say R, this one, uppercase, in statements, we are going to get false. We are getting false because in programming in Python, R, this R here, lowercase r, is different from uppercase R. So they are two different things. That is why here we returned false, or false was returned to us, because there's no R, uppercase R in the statements here in this string. So you get false. The same thing if I do this P in statements, I'll get false because there's no lowercase p in the statements. We have an uppercase P. So just take into that. So if you want to check for the presence or absence of characters, then this in will do the trick for you. But of course, if you want to do some advanced searches, such as maybe repeating, maybe getting the count of characters, or maybe looking for where certain substrings begin and all that, you have to look at advanced stuff such as regular expression. But that's something that I'll cover in another tutorial. This tutorial here is to serve as a starting point for you. So I'm taking it simple. We are doing everything from scratch. This is the basics. So once you are conversant with this, then you can move on to other stuff. So let's continue. So you can use the in here to check if you have characters or substrings in a string. So just take note of that. Okay, now let's proceed. Let's look at something else here. We are moving on to the next step, and that is count the number of characters or substrings. We will do that here. So that's the next step. Okay, so if you want to count the number of characters or substrings, we will do that here. So let's just do this. This time, let's say topic equals data science. So let's say you want to count the number of A's. That's this in this one. And you can say topic dot count. Then we bring our parentheses. Then in the parentheses, we indicate what we want to count. So we want A. So we say A. So let's count it. So this will give us 2. Because we have A here, we have A here. That's what we have here. So that will give us the character or the letter. Now let's look at another thing here. Let's try this. Let's look at another statement here. So let's see sentence or statements. Statement 2. Yeah, I'll use this to also say something. So for variables, you can also include numbers. So you can start with your normal alphabet and then you can bring a number here. So this is statement 2. So that's also valid. So statement 2, let's say let's say this YouTube channel is cool. Let's say this YouTube channel has videos. Or let's say has lots of videos, lots of cool videos. There's also another statement, right? Okay, now let's do this. So let's say you want to count the number of times YouTube appears, the word YouTube appears. Then it becomes statement 2 dot counts, and we say what? YouTube. And that will give us 2 because we have YouTube here. We also have YouTube here. So that's how we do it. So that's how we count the number of characters or substrings in a string. Okay, so it's very, very simple and then straightforward. Now let's continue. Let's look at something else here. Let's go. So that's for counting. Let's move on to the next one, which is replace characters or substrings. Sometimes you have your string, or you would have created your string, and then you may want to replace some characters or substrings. So Python allows you to do that. Now let's try this. Let's come back here. Let's do something here. Let's check. Okay, yeah. So let's bring another statement. Let's say statement 3. Let's say I love programming. So let's just say I want to replace programming with Python. I can do that here. So I can say statement 3.replace. And I bring what I want to replace, which is programming. And then what I want to add, the new one, the new word or the new character or substring I want to introduce. So this is the one that I'm removing. Then this is the one that I'm adding. So let's say Python. So I do it like this, and then I can execute it. So I'll have this new statement. I love Python. Take note that this variable here is not being changed. A copy is what is being modified unless you explicitly assign this operation to the same variable. So I love Python, that's what I've been giving here because we have replaced this one here. Now let's look at something else here. Let's say let's say I want to replace the O here. Okay, let's do this. Let's say statement 3.replace O, and then what? Let's say with O. I want to replace just this one here, and I do it like this. Let's see what happens. You will see what has happened. Even though our targets, what we wanted to do was replace just this O, this one here has also been affected. This is because when we use the replace method, all occurrences of that particular pattern or substring or character or whatever will be replaced with the new one. Okay, that's what you need to know. So all occurrences of that particular letter or character or substring will be replaced with the new one that you have specified. So just take note of that. So if let's say you are interested in just this one, there are other ways to do it. You can just convert to a string and then just maybe use an indexing to change this one. There are ways to do that, but that is something that I'm going to cover in later tutorials. For now, I'm just keeping it simple for beginners so that we don't end up getting confused. But there's a way to actually change specific parts of it. Okay, let's continue. Let's proceed. So we'll move on to the next activity. So let's do that now. Okay, so the next activity will be how to combine strings. So you can have two or three strings or even more, and then you would like to combine them. So we call it concatenating or concatenation. It's possible to do that. So I'm going to show you 3 approaches to do that. So let's look at the first approach. So let's say you have 2 names. Let's say first name equals data. Second name equals science. And you want to combine them. Then you can say, let's say combined equals, this time I want to assign it to a variable. So I can say combined equals first name. Now it's not going to be in quotes. So I'll say combined equals first name plus second name. So I can say combined, and that'll give me the name here. And then this one, you would like to add a space character. So how do we do that? I'll just copy the same thing here. Okay, let me just type here. So I can say combined equals first name plus a space plus second name. So now when I print it, I'll get what I want. That is this one here. Okay, so that's the first approach, concatenation. You can also do that with numbers. If you have a number, okay, let's just say you have, let's say name equals, let's say eagle. And let's say number equals 1. And you want to combine them, you can just say, let's say code name equals name plus str number. So if you want to change an integer to a string, you can use str, and then that will be changed for you. So that's how we do it. So if I do that, I can say code name, and I'll get eagle 1. So that's how we do it. This tutorial is for beginners, so I'm taking it simple, but there are ways to also do some complex stuffs, which you will get there once you are okay with this particular type. So I will encourage you to focus on what we are doing now. Don't try to do anything beyond what is being shown here. Once you get used to what is being done here, then all the other things will automatically be easy for you to search. So make sure you understand what is being done here, and after that you can move it further. Okay, so this is the first approach. There are more elegant ways to do this. So let's look at the second approach. So the second and the third approaches are strange formats. Yeah, they are strange formatting. Okay, so that's what they are basically. So it helps you to format your strings in certain ways. And I prefer to use approach 2 and approach 3 to this one here. Now let's look at approach 2. I'll still use the same first name and then second name here. Let's look at it. So if I want to combine it, I can say combined. Or let me just say combine 2. Or yeah, let me just use full name so that we can differentiate it from the previous one. So I can say full name, and then here I'll bring my quotes, and then in the quotes I'll say %s space %s. So, and I'll come here %s. Let's say first name, second name. So this percentage symbol and the s here is a placeholder. It tells Python that we are going to add a string. Okay, we are going to link it to a string. So we are telling Python that you expect a string data type. The same thing here, a string data type, and that is what we have here. So we have 2 placeholders. That means that we have to specify or supply 2 string data types or string objects. That is what these ones are for. Okay, so that's how we do. Now let's run this. So we can say full name, and then we get data science. Okay, so this one is much elegant and better, because if let's say you have lots of spaces here, instead of coming plus space plus this plus this plus that, you can just do everything here and then it will be sorted out for you. So this is the second approach. Now you can also add numbers. Yeah, let's try with the eagle. Okay, I had the eagle here. Let's try again. Let's try this. Yeah, name and then eagle. Or let's just say this time, let's say Python name and then number. So Okay, so now if I run it again, I'll get Python 1. So this is how we do it. Okay, so you can change this to suit your needs. That's how we do it. Now let's look at the third one, which is here, which is another one in Python 3. So the third approach, this time let's try something else. Let's say okay, let's just use the same data science. I think that will be better so that we are sure of what we are doing. I'll just do this here. In approach 3, let's have it. In approach 3, we bring our quotes. Let me just use full name. Let's say full name 2. We bring our quotes, and then instead of the percentage s percentage we did here, we can just say use a curly brackets, 2 of them, and then when we come here we say dot format, and then we can indicate our first name, our second name, and then we can execute the command. So let's execute this command. So now I can say full name 2, and I'll get my data science. Okay, so this time we use this curly brackets here as placeholders. Instead of using the percentages, we use curly brackets and we set dot format. So, and then we just supplied what we want to add or what we wanted to display here. So that is how we do. So these are 3 approaches. Now you can modify these things to suit your needs. And so you can add integers or floats or whatever. So this is just an example. So just try to experiment. If you have any challenge too, you can always reach out to me for more guidance, and then you can get some stuff done. So just practice with this and then you'll be fine. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. That is indexing and slicing. Okay, so let's look at that. So indexing and slicing, or let me say indexing. Okay, indexing is used to access substrings or characters by specifying an index or range of indexes, starts and end, and in some cases a step or stride value. Okay, so depending on how you do your queries, then we get into what you call the slicing. Okay, where you just add start index and step or stride, and then you can remove some components of the string and join them later on. Okay, so basically we are dealing with indexing. So indexing, we deal with numbers here, and note that in Python counting starts from 0. Okay, so if you look at the syntax here, we have s, m, and s. S is the string, have m starts and end, s step or stride. So with the step and stride, it's not always that you have to add it. It depends on the situation. The same with the end, and then the starts, you have to add it. Sometimes you just want just one position or one index, so you just need to put in your first value, which is the starts. Sometimes you want a range, then you have your start and end. Sometimes you also want to do some other stuff to bring your step or stride. So it depends on the situation. So we are going to take a look at all these things now. So let's start with the classical one. I'll just copy and paste something here. We'll use that. Okay, let me just type it here. That will be faster. So I'll say language equals Python. Now, if I want to, let's say I want the first character, which is here. First is first. So that means as a beginner, you may be tempted to use 1. But in Python, counting starts from 0. So the first character here, this first one, the position number 1, is 0. So if I want to access the first character, then it becomes the string, in this case language. You bring your square brackets and you say 0. So that will give us what? P, because that's the first character. If you want the second character, if I do learn language, I'll get 6. So 6 minus 1 is 5. Right? So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I can just say language 5. and that'll give me n. That's the last character. Okay, that's the last character. So that's how we use indexing. Now, what we did was to just access a single character. But if you want a substring, or let's say you have a range, then that's how we do it. Let's still use this time. Yeah, let's still use, I'll just define it here again. Python. So if I want, let's say, the second character to, let's say, the fourth character, then this is where the start and end comes in. M and then N. So in that case becomes language I want what? The second up to the fourth. So the second up to the fourth is what will happen. You will bring your second, in this case, it will have an index of 1 because this is what? 0, 1. This is the second. And then you bring your quotes, you bring your colon, as we have indicated here. Okay, this is comma, but then you bring your quotes. Okay, I use comma here, but it's not comma, it's quotes. Let me just correct this one here. I bring my colon here. There's the start, and we bring the end. So the ending, I want up to the fourth. So if I want up to the fourth, then I need to add +1 to it, because the last value, Python will not return that index for you. So this is 1, 2, 3. Okay, so because I want up to this one, I have to add +1 to this one. So I need to add this one here, 4. So let's run this command. So I wanted the second to the fourth, and that is what? This second, third, fourth. Okay, so second, third, fourth will be what? Index what? 1, 2, 3. But because I want up to the fourth, I need to add +1 to the end. So it sets more like a boundary so that Python doesn't go beyond that. And that is why I had to add 4. Okay, so when you add 4, that means that you have everything returned from the start up to this value here -1. The number before this one here, I've indicated that in the statement here. Let me just check. I think I added it here. Okay, I think it's in the order. Yeah, I think I've indicated it somewhere here, but you can also take a look at it. I'll include that in the notebook. Okay, so I have that here. So 1:4. That means we want 1, 2, 3. That's what we actually want. So the 4 here is serving as like a boundary so that Python doesn't go beyond that. So always when you use the range, you should know that the last value, that number itself, Python will not include that, but the number before the last one will be the limits. So that's why we had this one here. So simply put, if you want the first, let's say if you want the second to the fourth, then you bring the index 1 to 4th. Okay, so just do that. And then so anyway, so just try experiments. Normally these things, when you experiment, you can change the values, maybe 6, 5, 4, 3, or whatever. And then as you are changing, you'll be looking at the output, what is being returned for you, and you can gradually get a pattern and understand it. So that's how we do it. So don't worry about the talking, just do the practicals and then you'll be fine. It's when you practice that you develop the expertise. So just practice, practice, and practice. So type the code yourself. Don't do copy and paste. Type it, change it, and then you'll be fine. Okay, so let's proceed. So here I did 1 to 4 to get this one. You can also change it. I mean, depending on what you want, you can do that as well. So you can look at the range. Let's say you want up to 5, you can do that here, and then you can get that also done. Okay, so that's how we do it. Now let's continue. Let's look at another thing here. let's try this. Yeah, negative indexing. So negative indexing is used to access the last element of a string. Remember when I was looking for the last element or the last character here, I first had to do a len and then do a subtraction. You don't need to do that. Okay, there's a way to get the last element. So when you want to access the last element, we use negative values. That's why we have negative indexing. So with the negative indexing, you use the actual values. Now let's take a look at the Python again language. If I want the last character, which is here, then if I'm using negative indexing, it becomes -1. So for the last, if you are accessing the last, if you are accessing it from this side, from here to here, then you use the actual values. You don't do -1, the actual value. So here it's 1. 1 means the last one. So that means that starting from the end, the first one, okay? So that one will give me n. If I want the second, that's last but one, sort language -2, and that will give me O. So this is negative index, and it's used to access the last element. So from here, you can just do that and get everything that you want. Okay, so that's how we do it. Now, let's look at another one, which is shorthand indexing, which is also important. Here, we will look at that. Okay, so yeah, before we even look at the shorthand index, let's look at something else here. What we've done so far was to use the starts and then the end. But then what about the stride? This is also important. We need to look at this also. So if you are adding strides, let me just put that here. I think I can put that here. I'll put that here and then we can do it. So if I want to add strides, let's look at this situation. Let's say my string. I love Python. Let's look at this one here. So if I want to add a stride, let's say this my string. I just have to issue a command for you first before we can continue. So let's say my string, let's say 0 is to what? 8 is to 2. Let's do this. So if I do this, we are still looking at our start and then end. So that means we are starting from 0 and then we are ending at what? 7. So we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, that's what we have here. Now let's look at the situation here. So I have this one here, intervals of what? 2. Okay, so this interval of 2 here means that we want a stride of 2, a step of 2. So I start from 0. Okay, so from 0, which is this one, a stride of 2. So 1, 2. So the 2 will have what? L, that is love. So after love, that's L. Okay, after L, another 2, 1, 2. That'll give me 20. Okay, that'll give me 20. After 20, another 1, 2. That'll give me what? A space. Okay, note the range was this one here. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This was the range. Okay, because it's 0 to 8, but the last one will not be included. So in this range, in this one here, we want a step size of 2 or a stride of 2. So that means that after the first one, intervals of 2. So 1, 2, that's L. Another 1, 2, that is V. Another 1, 2, that is a space. So that's why you have the space here. If you want to modify to 3, let's see. we get IO. So why do we have IO? So when we are here, the first one is I, 1, 2, 3, that is O. 1, 2, 3, space, that is what we have here. Okay, yeah, IO space. Okay, I forgot to add a space. So we have IO space. Okay, so it's still within this range, 0 to 8. But in reality, we are looking at 0 to 7. So we have IO and then space. Now, if I want to try with 4, let's try with 4 and then see. We have what? IV. So why do we have IV? This is the first one, I, 1, 2, 3, 4. That give me V. But after V, 1, 2, 3, 4. This Y here, this one here is outside the range. Okay, that is why it will not be included, because it's what? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That is what we have here. Okay, so the first one here, the range will be taken, and then in intervals of what has been given here, then you get that. So this is how we use a strike. So if, let's say, in the string, you are looking for a pattern, let's say you want the fourth character, okay, or maybe each group, or maybe you may have your criteria. So once you have your criteria and then it demands that you use a step or stride, then you can use that to pick up certain characters of your choice. So if you are doing some advanced searches, or sometimes you have these hackathons, they will ask certain questions and you may have to assess using indexing and slicing. Maybe you may also have to add your step or whatever. So I mean, this is how it is. I'm trying to explain it like in like a simple term so that you can understand. But at the end of the day, what you need to do is to practice. So just change the values here, experiment, and sometimes you can also manually check yourself and then see it's. So this one, just a short statement, and so it becomes easy for you to check manually, inspect manually, and then once you inspect manually and then you compare with what you have, then it becomes easy for you to understand. So don't try to go overboard. Just keep it simple, keep it short, and then just try to examine whatever has been given to you manually. Check it manually, check it, compare, and then make sure that everything is adding up, and then that's when you can say, yes, I've made it. Okay, so that is what add strides. Now let's proceed. We have done the negative indexing, so we will look at the shorthand indexing. Okay, so with the shorthand indexing, we do this by omitting either the first or the last index. And I've given some examples here. So we have this one here. So we have the colon and end. That means we start the slicing from the beginning up to the end, which is our end. Okay, so it's the index just before end. Yeah, that's what I was referring to when I started this section. And then we also have S and then M and then colon. So that means that we are starting from M up to the end. So here, the colon here means we are returning a copy of it. And then this one here gives us a reverse of the entire sequence. Let's try what's the difference in. We have 4 situations. So let's try. I'll still use Python at this time because this is Python. So let's try this. Now let's ask this question. Let's do this. So if I do this, language colon array, we will get from the beginning up to 2. Okay, that's the index just before the end. So let's run this. So we get what's PYT. So that is 0, 1, 2. That's this one here. That is the first scenario here. Now let's look at the second one, which is M colon. That means we are starting from this M here. And let's say language 4, and then we bring a colon. That means we are starting from index 4 up to the end. So we get what's this. So we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 up to the end. So let me just do it again. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's this one here. This is the 4 up to the end. So that gives us this one. Let's just try let's reduce it. Okay, this one I increase it, so that means it's this one. Let's just do this. Let's add this better. This is better. So here is 0, 1, 2, 3. That's H. So we have HON. So starts up to the end. Let's look at the third one, which is this one, which returns a copy. So I can say language this, and that'll give me a copy. Okay, so this is just nothing is being nice. It just returns a copy to you. Now let's look at this. Let's say we have this. This gives us the reverse. So if I want the reverse, I can say language. I bring my colons, 2 of them. I bring my -1. Then I get this one here. It gives me a reverse. So that means we are starting from here. NOHTYP. Yeah, that's what we are. So this giving you a reverse. So just experiment and then you'll be fine. Okay, let's continue. So let's look at iterating over strings. Sometimes you have your string and then you like to iterate. So that means that you would like to look at the characters. So iteration means you are moving into it character by character. That's what iteration simply means. So just let's look at iteration as this scenario here. Let's say you have maybe a book. Yeah, let's say you have a book and then you want to take a look at the pages in the book. You want to take a look at the pages one by one. So you open the book, you start to flip page by page by page, and then you want to read that page, or you just want to look at some text there. So just take that as iteration, where you are looking at the individual items. So that's how we do it. So if you are going to iterate, there are a number of ways to do that. We use for loops. So I'll just try with a for loop, for example. So let's say I want to display Python. Okay, the letters, the individual letters here. There's Python. I have assigned to a variable. Okay, so I can say for I in language. Because it's a block statement, I have to bring a colon, enter, and then I need to get my index. That's 4 spaces. Okay, a Jupyter Notebook does that for you automatically, but if you are doing it on, let's say, a Linux terminal, you have to specify your own space. So I can just say 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the tab. Okay, that's 4 spaces. And then I can just say print I. So this will give me everything here. Okay, letter by letter. Okay, maybe the I is confusing. So the I, that's what it's doing. I made mention with the book example that you want to look at the pages the individual page. So you just open the book, you flip every page, you open and you flip. So the I here is a placeholder for each element or each character like we have here. So for I in language here simply means for every letter in it. So PYTHON. So the I, the value changes based on which item or which letter it's on now. So for I, print I. So that means for every member, for every element, print it. So for every page in the book, read it. That's what this simply means. Okay, so here we issue the print statement, but then you can also do some additional processing. Okay, now instead of the I, you can also say for letter in language, print letter. Maybe that will also help you to understand it better. So for letter in language, print letter. Okay, so I can do that here. Well, let me just do that here. Let me change this and rather use that one here. That will be better. So I can just say for letter in language, print letter. That will give me what's Python. Okay, so when you see the for statement and you have the I there, it's a placeholder. Okay, for the iterable, whatever you are iterating over. So that's what you need to know. You can do some additional processes. It's not just the print statement. You can add more information, but that's something that we are going to look at later on. Okay, when we do loops as a separate topic. Okay, now let's look at something else. So sometimes you have your string and you would like to convert to a list. List is something I'm going to cover in my next tutorial, but I just want to show you something. So if you have a string and you want to convert to a list basically are placed in square brackets. Okay, so if you have your string, let's say my string, let's say data, this time let's use data. And I want to convert to a list, I can say lists my string, and that will give me what? This one here, DAT. So there's a list, but lists, we are going to cover that in the next tutorial, so don't worry about it. Here I'm only just showing you that it's possible to do that, but you don't have to worry. I'll go into details with that in my next tutorial. Okay, so this is how you convert a string to a list. So I'll just keep it simple here. Now, there are other things we also need to look at. I did not mention that. I think I will do that here. It's better I do that here. We call it escape characters. I'll add that here. Let me just make sure we are on the same page. So escape characters are also important because sometimes you would like to add some characters, like maybe a new line character or a tab character or something like that. It's possible to do that in Python because those ones, we don't really have like a single character for it on the keyboard. Okay, so for example, a new line, like let me just do this. Let's say I have this hello world. Okay, or let me just say data science. So let's say I want this data here to be in one line, and then I want the science to also be in another line. And there's nothing on the keyboard that allows us to print this or display it with that character included. For example, here we have a space which is on the keyboard, but if it's a new line, you want to add this to a new line, there's nothing on the keyboard. So that's where escape characters come in. So there are some special characters that if you want to input, you use what we call the escape character. So I'll show you an example. So let's say new line, I'm going to add this one. So let me add it. So for a new line character /n, like this, that will give us a new line. Okay, so if I have this, let me bring my, let's say name again. I have data science, and then I want this science, when I print it, I want this science to be in another line. Then it has to be /n. That'll be my new line character. Okay, /n. So if I'm here, then what I have to do is simply print name. So if I print it, because it's a new line character, automatically Python knows what to do and then places that in another line. So this is a new line character. So this is an escape character. There are others as well. Let's say you want a tab. Let me just try with this again. If it's a tab character, let's just try with this. Tab. A tab is going to be /t. So if it's a tab character, I can just add /t. And then let me just add the print here. And then I'll have a tab character. Okay. If let's say it's a quote, the quotes are used for string, but if you want to add it in your string, okay, then that one too, you can add your slash. So I'll just do that here. So let's say a quote. Let me just say double quotes. Let me use this one here. Double quotes with what? Slash, and then you bring this and learn because it's important. Okay, so that's for escape characters. So we've covered quite a lot, and there are more string manipulation methods here that you can use. I've just scratched the surface. You can check online. There are lots of tutorials on Python that you can also use to learn more. So basically, if you want more tutorials on Python, just search online, use the right keywords, and then you'll get the right tutorial. So that's how we do it. So try with these ones, and don't forget to check my Patreon channel, and then you get access to other Python notebooks. Okay, so just check that. I'll leave the link in the description box for it to you. So learn more and then join me next time for another Python for beginners tutorial. So then the next session, we are going to talk about lists, and I'll also show you how to use lists and then use that to manipulate your data. So that'll be all for this tutorial, and I'll see you next time.